featuring social, arts, and entertainment. And now, here's Sue Lilly.
You know how I love to go to places and meet new people, and I take you out on the town with me? Well, I have somebody that came all the way from the St. Petersburg area tonight to be with us. My guest is Lisa Hein. Lisa, this fascinates me as a mother, and now as a grandmother. Tell me what prompted you to write this book, and the kind of subtitle is, I'm doing the best I can. Do we ever do the best we can?
We try. We really try. And that's why I named it the book, because so many times you hear parents say, you know, I'm doing the best I can, there's no book. Well, now there is. And it's so funny because I had to add, because they won't always be cute and adorable. Because when we start out as parents of young children, we just don't ever think that they're going to be 14 and 15 years old. And they may not be as cute as they are now then. So I talk a lot about my behavior as a parent because he was my only one, and I thought for sure I was going to just be the greatest mother ever. And I wasn't going to treat him like, you know, my mom did with the stern hand, and I was going to allow him to talk. And, you know, all of a sudden it was like as he got older, we went through this, through 5th grade was absolutely wonderful because my whole world was him. I catered to him. The children were in and out of our home. That was my whole life.
He would have been maybe like 11 years old at that time?
Yeah, I mean, it all started, you know, from the get-go. He was always very popular. Everybody loved him. Our home was always open. You know, it was a fun place to be because we weren't allowed to have our friends in. We always had to play outside. We were raised in Florida, so we could go 3 blocks away and play. But when it was dinner time and you heard the family whistle, you knew, get it there right now, you know. But nowadays it's like, you know, everybody's so busy and they're off and running, and we don't have dinners together. You know, a lot of families don't do dinners anymore. And that, to me, I don't know about you, but that was the most important time of the day.
Absolutely. The family would gather together. And yeah, you know, it's very interesting. At one time, I developed a course through Moss Brothers. It was called Social Savvy, and one of the things we talked about was the importance of having dinner and that opportunity. And I would say that half of my class, out of maybe 20 students, if I asked them to raise their hand, maybe 3 raised their hands that they had dinner with their family, even 3 or 4 times a week.
Absolutely.
How can we as parents, now I'm a grandparent, your son now is how old?
21.
21. Tell me what's the crux of what you're saying in the book? What's your whole objective?
Well, today we are living in a world full of a million things. And with that much in front of them, we try to keep up with it. Yeah. And we're constantly at the mall, or we're constantly getting another cell phone for them, or we're doing this, or the iPod, or, you know, and there's so much going on. And what the gist of my book is that let's get back to the basics. We need to feed our children, clothe our children, and give them room and board. And everything else is gravy. And I just felt in what I was doing is the more I did, the better mother I was.
You felt you were?
I thought so. And I just gave and gave and gave, and he became my world. In fact, one of my friends called me a helicopter mother, and I didn't really like that.
What's that mean?
It means I'm always hovering. Oh, just always hovering, helping with the homework.
Oh, maybe that's better than a hockey mom. I don't know.
Oh, well, yeah. With lipstick.
Yeah, there you go.
But anyway, the reason I wrote it is I sat and I was journaling my thoughts, because as he got older, it caught me off guard that the separation period would start. So it was a little bit sad because I didn't want him to ever pull away from me, but it happens, and I wasn't prepared for it. So I started journaling my thoughts about what it was like when I had him, the overwhelming, oh my gosh, now I know why I'm alive, you know, and doing everything you possibly can. I was a single mother in the beginning, so of course I was trying to work overtime, thinking I had to do twice as much because there wasn't a father image there. But when children are that young, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? It's like I'm not sure that that was like so critical that I had to do that. So my whole world was my son, and everything I did was for him. I tell a story. I said, yeah, I've, had the same bra for 8 years, but this kid, had brand new clothes every,
Nike
2 weeks.
Right?
Oh, yeah. I had the first pair of Reeboks, But it was just a matter of knowing that I had messed up, and it was innocent, and I just didn't get it. And most of us today aren't getting it. We think it's okay to buy them everything they want, and it's okay to continue to meet all of their needs. But what we're doing is we're taking away from their who they really are
and their own creativity.
Mm-hmm. They have no creativity today.
It's funny. We were talking before we went on the air. Rochelle Herman was here, and we were talking about. She told her children that the elves were.
They were laid off.
They were laid off. Look out for Christmas this year. But you were saying to me earlier too that children need to give. It's what as they say, it's more blessed to give than to receive, and I really believe that. But unless we give them an opportunity to know what it's like, what's your suggestion with the holidays? We're coming up to the holidays. We're coming into economic times like we've never known.
Right.
I don't think it's as bad as people say that it is, because I think that's the time to pick yourself up and dust yourself off and get going.
Exactly. Actually, I don't want to fall prey to it, because I want to just keep thinking how blessed we are. My husband's working. I'm, doing wonderful things with my book. I don't see it yet. I don't feel it yet, and I pray we never have to feel it. Mm-hmm. But I also know that there's a lot of parents right now that are feeling it, and I keep thinking, you know what? The holidays are to give, and it is better to give than to receive. Let our children experience something this year that they have probably never done. And that is sit down and talk and say, you know what, we're a little bit scared, right? We're a little bit scared right now financially. Let's do something wonderful, and let's reach out to a family that has nothing, so that one day can be their special day, because your whole year is filled up with special days. So I know, like where I live, there's a casa, for abused families, and there's Red Cross. There's all different kinds of places where we could direct our energies and bring the whole family in as a group. And perhaps if they've got some toys that they're not using anymore and they're in great shape, wrap them up. Go to the more inexpensive stores and buy gifts for these children, and perhaps a sweatshirt or a sweater for the mom or the dad or whatever, and let your children see the look on their faces when they receive.
One thing that was really wonderful, gosh, it was 20-some years ago, but I was working at a residential treatment center for abused children as a volunteer. And it was like 4 days before Christmas, a little girl came in. She had been physically and mentally abused by her father, who was a doctor. But when they had to take her out of her home with her mother and father, she could take nothing. So she didn't have anything, and all the kids had been assigned. So I went home and I said to my family, little Jessica needs a place. Can we do something for her? Right. Mother, of course, have her come for Christmas. I had 2 children at the time, a boy and a girl. My friends, when they found out I was bringing her for the Christmas holiday, I had friends that went out and bought her clothes. They bought her a coat. They bought her toys. And they all brought things over on Christmas Eve day. And Christmas Eve, it's such a long story. I don't want to take up all your time telling it, but it's a beautiful story. I noticed then on Christmas Eve, after everyone went to sleep, she was downstairs and she was crying. And I went down and I said, Jessica, what's the matter, honey? She said, all these people brought me things and I have nothing to give anyone else. She was 9 years old. And she said, I have nothing to give your children. I have nothing to give them. So all of a sudden she looked at some of the things that people had brought her, like little stuffed animals. So she chose a stuffed animal for my son. She chose a stuffed animal for my daughter. She chose one for my husband, and then of course she then had one for me too the next day. But my kids learned so much from that little orphan girl at that particular time. She wasn't really an orphan, but she was at Christmas time.
Right.
And that's what you're talking about.
Exactly.
And I think that not everybody's going to have an experience like that, But that was one of the probably the most beautiful Christmases that we ever had as a family, and I think of that as one of the happiest times that we've ever had. And I think when we look at times like that we're in right now, it's people like you, it's going to be books like this that are going to motivate us to be good not only to our children and to other people, but to ourselves. The book is I'm Doing the Best I Can. You said you thought you were a wonderful mother, but then you thought maybe you weren't. I'm going to disagree with you. Having just met you, I still think you were probably one of the best mothers there could be. But why didn't you think you were a good mother?
I saw the outcome. And the outcome made me realize, or made me think, that I had done something wrong. But in essence, it was him growing. It was him experiencing. It was him going out and maybe doing something wrong, but he had to find out on his own. But yet, no matter what happened, I was always right there with him. Always, trying to protect them, making excuses. And when we do that to our children, we take away from their character. We take away from them having that feeling of, if I get in trouble, I'm going to have to get myself out of it because my parents aren't going to be there for me. We no sooner, these children no sooner get over to the juvenile detention center when they do get in trouble, and there's the parents bailing them out. What did they just learn? So
what have you learned?
I've learned that to give too much is detrimental. To me, I say God gave me 2 ears and 1 mouth so that I should hear more and talk less. Because I know that we want to push our experiences and our philosophies on our children. But sometimes they just want us to listen. And the more we allow them to talk, the more stuff is going to come out, and they're going to be able to express themselves, and maybe even they'll walk through their problem, instead of hiding it and getting all, full of anxiety, thinking, if my parents find out, and then you go into lying, then you go into, a depression, then you deal with all these emotional things. I wish I would have listened more and talked less.
This is what I would do. I would suggest this as a stocking stuffer
for any age, for a mom with any age children. Let's start getting them healthy, getting our parents healthy right from the get-go. And then if you have older children, like in middle school, don't read chapter 1 and 2. But there's a chapter for every age group.
And your last piece of advice was kind of letting go and letting God.
Amen.
And
Very true.
I couldn't agree with that more. And we also believe in the St. Francis prayer, giving we receive, pardoning we are pardoned. Well, thank you very, very much. You're a lovely guest, and we'll look forward to seeing you again. And have a wonderful, wonderful week, and we'll see you next time. It's the Talk of the Town. Good night, and God bless.